You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. LSU is going to go play Ole Miss this weekend, and one of the least discussed, but maybe most relevant topics of the first month in the SEC is Quinshon Judkins. And what I mean is actually one of the greatest disappearing acts that we've seen so far in the first month of the Southeastern Conference. You all remember Quinshon Judkins, right? Quinshon Judkins, who a year ago was SEC Freshman of the Year. Quinshon Judkins, who a year ago was a first-team All-American, first-team All-SEC, who was on everybody's preseason All-America. This guy ran for 1,567 yards last year as a freshman and 16 touchdowns. Yes, that Quinshon Judkins. So far, through 4 games, Quinshon Judkins, if you've not been following at home, Quinshon Judkins has carried, through 4 games, 57 times for 201 yards. Y'all, he's averaging 3.5 yards a carry. And those 4 games, by the way, were against Mercer, Tulane, Georgia Tech, and Alabama. Quinshon Judkins was sensational a year ago. In the game against LSU, he ran for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. We got to see him as a true freshman be awesome. And so far in this season, through the first month, he has vanished. As a matter of fact, Jackson Dart is Ole Miss's leading rusher right now. Quinshon Judkins didn't forget how to be a great athlete and a great running back in this offseason. Ole Miss's offensive line just stinks. And there's a variety of reasons for that, but they cannot run block. And it doesn't matter if they're playing in Tuscaloosa against Alabama, if they're playing against Georgia Tech, if they're down at Ullman against Tulane, if they're at home against Mercer. It has not mattered who or where they play. They cannot run the football, which opens up an amazing opportunity for LSU. By the way, Lane Kiffin was asked on Monday about his team's struggles in the running game. Here's what he said.
Yeah, we got to get better. We got to coach better, involve different schemes, different things. We're just sometimes running game's interesting. You'll have these games and all of a sudden they'll pop and you have a bunch of explosive runs. So we just got to all go to work and figure out a way. Not like we're a team or a program that hasn't ever ran the ball or hasn't known how to run the ball. So it'd be really good to get back to that.
It's true. He's right. That's been a cornerstone of Lane Kiffin's offense. We perceive him as this wide open spread slinging around guy, but he is a guy that historically, even in his time at Bama and his time so far at Ole Miss, that has great balance, run and pass. They just have not been able to utilize the guy that's their best weapon in Quinshon Judkins. And now here comes LSU. And LSU defense, by the way, which we've talked about, is statistically not good. LSU is 11th in the SEC in total defense. LSU is 12th in the SEC in rush defense. LSU is 9th, oddly enough, in the SEC in pass defense. You'd probably think those were flipped, weren't you, considering the issues that LSU's had in the pass defense. But we have seen over the course of the first month of the season an evolution in LSU's front seven. We have seen a rotation develop where it's not just Mekhi Wingo, Mason Smith. We have seen Jordan Jefferson really come along with Jacoby and Guillory. We've seen Paris Shand on the inside. We've seen a true rotation. At linebacker, obviously with Omar Spates out the last 2 weeks, we've seen Whit Weeks emerge alongside Greg Penn, who was inserted after the Florida State game, and Harold Perkins has gone back to his more natural spot. That LSU defensive front seven right now looks really good. By the way, Brian Kelly was asked about Jordan Jefferson, a guy who many people through a month think probably should be starting over Mason Smith, who still looks like he's hobbled by and limited by that injury. Here was BK on Jefferson.
He's twitchy. He's extremely strong. And we're going to look at him, playing a little bit more on the nose in our 3 down because, he can do a lot of things for us. So playing some nose, that kind of physicality and, what he can do for us in our 3 down front, I think he'll make a difference for us.
He is obviously a very strong, powerful interior player that gives you more of a rotation. We've seen that now allow LSU to put Harold Perkins back on the outside. By the way, here was Lane Kiffin on Monday, if you missed it. Remember, the Ole Miss game a year ago is when Harold Perkins emerged. It was after the LSU lost to Tennessee, and there was like, bleep it, put the kid on the outside, let him go kill the quarterback, rush the passer. Perkins was awesome. Kiffin said it after the game last year in Baton Rouge when he said, when did the game change? He said, when they put 40 on the field. Here was Kiffin on Monday.
I mean, I don't know if they've talked about it, but it looks like they tried to play him like a normal backer in week 1 and play him like a boundary wheel backer, and looks like they scratched that after the Florida State game and went back to last year's plan and just put him out there and make a few calls with him, let him play. So I wish they'd put him back in there.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin sees it. Everybody sees it. It took 1 week for Harold Perkins to see and go like, yeah, coach, put me back on the outside. Look, when you look statistically at these teams, you would think the inverse. By the way, LSU, 11th in the SEC in sacks. Ole Miss, 9th in sacks against. You wouldn't think that LSU's defensive front seven would have an advantage in this game, but it's one of those instances where the stats don't tell the whole story, because if you have watched Ole Miss play, you can tell very clearly there is an issue with that offensive line, their ability to protect their quarterback and open holes for their running back, and that creates a major opportunity for a deep, veteran, talented LSU defensive front seven. That is the key to this game for LSU. They have got to limit Quinshon Judkins the way the first 4 opponents have. They have got to make Jackson Dart just a passer to where Harold Perkins and Deshaun Womack and Braden Swinson and the rest of the rushers can just go pressure Jackson Dart and make his life miserable like they did a year ago in Baton Rouge after that fast start by Ole Miss. It's very simple. LSU's going to go score because LSU's elite offensively, and they're going to move the ball and score on everybody. The question is, can this defense, and this, in particular the defensive front seven, replicate the success Ole Miss's first 4 opponents have done? That is the biggest thing to watch Saturday when LSU goes to Oxford. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.